It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. We need to be able to provide resources because some of the individuals who are homeless are dealing with mental health problems. You try to provide them the resources that they need, and they don't want the resources. So it's just a matter of sitting down, everybody sitting down and having a discussion. It would be nice to see a workforce, like a work group, to have a discussion as to what needs to be done. But it's not an easy fix, but I think we need to attempt to try it because it's only getting worse.
Okay, hello and welcome again to Sacktown Talks. Today we're glad to be joined by Assemblywoman Blanca Pacheco. Blanca, thanks for joining us. How's it going?
Pretty good. And that was pretty close.
Was it?
Blanca Nieves.
Nieves. Oh, man.
But that was pretty good.
We'll have to run that again then. So, as we were talking, before off camera, your actual name is Snow White Pacheco. How did you get that name and where did it come about?
So my mom's named me after my aunt. I get asked a lot, was your mom a big Disney fan? Mm-hmm. No, she is, but that's not the reason I have my name. So I was named after my aunt, whose name was Blanca Nieves. And my aunt passed away when she was 28, and my mom was pregnant with me. And so she decided to name me after my aunt. So I'm named after my aunt. Nice
little tribute name there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so, where did your grandmother name your aunt after?
So that's the interesting thing. So my parents, both my parents, but my mom and her sister were both born in Mexico. So the whole family's born in Mexico, and in Mexico, they named their children on the saint they were born on. So my aunt was named on Dia de los Nieves, and so she was named Blanca Nieves, but she was born in the 40s, and I believe Disney came out with the movie in the 40s or the
1937, 50s. I think, yeah.
And so they were from a small town, so I don't think they knew of Snow White, but she named her Blanca Nieves. And in Mexico, they always make you put Maria. So she was originally Maria Blanca Nieves, and then when they moved to the U.S., she took off the Maria, and it was just Blanca Nieves.
So, that's funny.
Yeah.
And now you live so close to Disneyland,
That's
full
true.
Full circle.
And I just want to mention, my mom would be so embarrassed if I say this, but she was born on the saint of Gregonio, so they were going to name her Gregonia. Mm-hmm. So, but fortunately they didn't. Her name's Mariana.
Everyone was spared. That's good.
Everybody was spared.
Yeah. So you're new to Sacramento this year. Mm-hmm. Kind of, what are some of your first impressions of actually coming up here every week now? You've been doing it for a couple months now, doing back and forth and kind of getting into the legislative session.
So I've noticed the weather is a lot colder here than it is Southern California. Sometimes by 10 degrees. It rains. It's more windy. My allergies have been acting up. Yeah. But for the most part, Sacramento's a nice city. I've been able to venture out. Went to a couple of restaurants. Ventured out from downtown. I've been working out. Mm-hmm. I've been getting to know Sacramento more, and it's a wonderful city.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's glad you're enjoying it. I guess, it's kind of funny because I guess this week or this weekend is supposed to be the biggest, coldest storm ever to hit LA, and it's going to hit here too. Mm-hmm. Do you think it will actually snow in your district?
Well, it actually has snowed before. And when I say snow, we've had ice before. Mm-hmm. And of course, Southern California, everybody panics. Like, oh no,
just at rain,
snowing.
Right? Yeah.
You're right, just rain alone. People are like, oh no, it's raining. We have to drive even slower.
Yeah, or not at all. Yeah.
Or not at all.
Yeah, that's funny. So you might want to stay up here this week. It might be a little too crazy back home.
It's still nice to be home.
Yeah.
And then I get to hang out with my dog, Mr. Belvedere.
Oh, dear. What kind of dog is it?
He's a miniature Schnauzer.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So, you just got elected up here. Kind of take us through your journey. What made you want to get into politics in the first place? I know you were down in the city council and stuff like that, but at one time you were just an attorney, right? And then you decided to get into politics. Can you kind of talk to us about that journey and kind of what made you, kind of want to take that foray?
So it was a rather interesting journey, and I've talked to students before where I tell them sometimes you plan something out and an opportunity will come up and you have to pivot. And so I feel that that's what happened with me. I became an attorney in 2003. I always imagined my pathway was be an attorney for 10 years and then become a judge.
Mm-hmm.
And then what ended up happening is I got involved in the community. I got involved with the Kiwanis Club of Downey, which is an organization helping children. And so for me, I have a passion for youth and helping youth. And I got really involved with the community, became president of my Kiwanis Club. I was able to get a lot of members to become a part of our Kiwanis Club. And through my interactions, I met the city council. I met the assembly member. At the time was Cristina Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
And she encouraged me to run for city council because she said, well, you already do what a council member does. You go to all the events. You're a part of the community. And at that time, we hadn't had a female on the council in over a decade. And so I ran for city council. My parents were 100% behind me. They were my biggest cheerleaders. And I won the city council race in 2016. And then I found out I was the first Latina to even serve in that capacity in Downey. And so I had been on council for 6 years, and the assembly member at the time, Cristina Garcia, decided to run for Congress. And so then Supervisor Hahn called me Christmas Eve,
Mm-hmm.
and she said, you better run for the city for this seat. This is your seat. It's your opportunity now to represent Downey at the state level. And she was my first endorsement, my 100% supporter. And so it was because of Supervisor Hahn that I decided to run. But it was always something I contemplated.
Right.
But I feel like maybe it's something that women go through. I feel like we have to be encouraged to run by others. Sometimes we don't feel like we're ready. We need more time on city council, wherever we're at. But that was my motivation and why I'm here today.
Yeah. Did anyone, come up to you and say, you know what, it isn't your time. Like, you need to, step back. You're still young. Like, you shouldn't do this.
No? Surprisingly, no. The only pushback I received was from residents from Downey who didn't want to give me up on the city council. They said, don't leave us. We're not ready to let you go. And so I had some people that were upset. But we have term limits in Downey.
Right.
So what I would explain to them is in 2 years, you're going to lose me anyways. So at least this gives me an opportunity to continue representing Downey and other cities, but for 12 years.
Right. So what were you doing? Like, I know you're an attorney, but kind of like legal work were you doing at the time, when you were considering running for city council?
So I was doing many areas of law. When I started off, I was doing criminal defense. Then I got into estate planning, so trust and wills and probate cases. And then I tried municipal law for a while, where I was representing city councils, drafting contracts. But the majority of my experience as an attorney was estate planning.
Estate planning. And so were you working with a firm, or were you just doing kind of like solo practice stuff at that time?
Mostly solo practice. When I did municipal law, I did work at a firm. And then when I was a criminal defense attorney, I worked at a law firm. So
I don't know, every time I go to a city council meeting, it's just kind of like, it's kind of painful because there's like so late at night, and like they're wild cards, right? Like, you don't know who's going to show up, who's going to say something. And sometimes it can be an hour or 2 hours, and sometimes it can be like 6 hours, like into like the wee hours of the night. Yeah. So like, as like a working professional who's obviously busy like that, that's pretty a large undertaking to take that on. Kind of, what was your experience with that? And kind of, it's kind of like, because they're not full-time jobs, right? Are they in Downey?
Yeah. So it was tough. You do have quite a number of speakers that will come in. We do have this one gadfly that roams around in LA County. He goes from Downey to the county supervisors meetings to the LA City Council, and he drops the F-bomb. He says the N-word. He wears a swastika on his shirt. He calls me mommy, and he changes his voice so it becomes Mommy Pacheco. So I get really interesting characters, and of course you get your other gadflies that come in and just complain about everything except city-related issues.
Yeah.
But I think Armando Herman is probably the worst one.
Is he? Is that the guy?
Armando Herman.
Does he go to the LA City Council? Is he one of those guys who's going after Kevin De Leon on the
He's been going
viral.
there since before Kevin De Leon. Yeah.
I've been seeing some highlights lately. They show on social media everyone going after Kevin.
Well, if you hear Armando Herman, you'll know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you see this guy starts, just saying the N-word and everything foul imaginable, you'll know, oh, that must be him.
Yep. All right, we'll have to take a look for him. So, now you're up here in Sacramento. We just had our bill introduction deadline. Kind of what are some of the main things that, you feel you want to come up here and take a look at and kind of, work on?
So, there's important areas that I want to focus on, like homelessness, housing, mental health issues. But right now, I just came up here. It's a time for me to learn, to soak it all in, to build the team. So a lot of my bills starting off are going to be more like your fix-it kind of bills. We have a diacritical marks bill, which I am extremely excited about. This bill would allow individuals to add accents and the ñ on their vital records. Interesting enough, it's not allowed right now. So right now, people are not able to write their names as they should be pronounced. Mm-hmm. So for an example, Muñoz, without the ñ, it becomes Munoz. And so it can be really irritating. And so that's one of the bills I'm really excited about. I'm carrying a family law bill, which is like fix-it language on a family law code section. And it's for a friend who's a family law judge. And so it's a lot of like various different bills. Like I mentioned, I have a passion for helping the youth. So a lot of my bills are also around youth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, for example, helping youth, like can you expand upon that? Kind of like exactly what do the youth need help with? So
I feel like they need more like programs. Like when I was a kid, I'll just mention this one program, the DARE program. Mm-hmm. That I want to recreate the DARE program, but we need to like keep our youth civically engaged, provide them the resources and the tools. So another example that I have is when I was on city council, we created a program called Girls on Fire. Mm-hmm. And so it was a 3-day, half-day workshop for middle school and high school girls. And it was to have discussions about human trafficking, social media etiquette, mental health, and also self-defense. And then I was able to get a lot of empowering females to come and talk to the girls and talk about their life experience. And one of them was a boxer named Ann Wolf. If you haven't heard of her, she's a famous boxer. Mm-hmm. She came out in Wonder Woman. And she talked to the girls about her experiences with being dyslexic, getting in trouble with the law, and then being able to turn her life around. So it was just a very empowering moment. And again, it's just to give the girls like an opportunity to meet other women, other smart and other women who've had to struggle, and to let them know if they're struggling, there's help and they'll get through it. Mm-hmm. But that was the focus. And so we have this various different bills surrounding youth because of my passion. Right. Because again, I'm a Kiwanian. I'm still Kiwanian.
Yeah, that's really interesting. We just had Corey Jackson come on, and he kind of talked about, he has a kind of background in that as well. Mm-hmm. Have you guys talked and collaborated on some stuff to work on it together?
We actually haven't, but it's good to know there's another Kiwanian. Yeah, I'm going to have to ask him.
Yeah. So like one thing that, you're aiming to fight for, as I understand, is kind of the workforce in California and kind of the affordability of California. Kind of what are some of the things you're looking at, and some of the things you think can be done to kind of, I guess, make California, more affordable to live and work in?
So with respect to workforce, I think we need to also concentrate on career tech educational programs. So provide more programs to our local high schools, so that way students know that there's an alternative to going to the universities. A lot of times, even when I was in high school, I was told, okay, you have to go to the university. The only options for good paying jobs are to be an attorney, mm-hmm. to be a doctor, and that's it. Right. Or a firefighter or a police officer. But I was always told you have to go to a university or a college. And I feel like not all students are made for going to colleges and universities, and just giving them the alternatives as to other good paying jobs. I think that's going to be something very important because there's many different fields that they could work in that they can get a middle class income.
Right.
So that way they can, buy a home, which is something that we all inspire to do.
I don't know if you feel this way, but after I went to law school and I saw the debt I got, and then I looked at my friends who didn't go to law school and they were making more money than I was like, what? Why did I go to law school? Like, so yeah, be good to know that before before you take that on.
I had that debt for a while.
Yeah. So yeah.
So I feel your pain.
It's not easy. No. What was your journey? Like, did you grow up in Downey? Did you grow up in the district, or what was your upbringing? Where'd you go to high school and college?
So interesting enough, I was born in Santa Barbara. My mom grew up in Santa Barbara, so I was born there. And then we moved to LA County because she wanted to go to nursing school. And so we moved around a lot. We couldn't afford to buy. So we lived in East LA, Boyle Heights, Huntington Park, Cudahy, Southgate, and eventually we made it over to Downey. So Downey was always a city that you inspired to live in. Everybody wanted to buy in Downey. So we moved around a lot, and I went to elementary school in Cudahy, and I went to middle school and high school in Downey, and then Cerritos College, which is also in my district. It's interesting enough, it's in the city of Norwalk, but called Cerritos College. Right. And then I went to UCLA and Loyola Law School.
Oh, awesome. And then, I guess you just took the bar and just went right into estate planning from there?
Criminal defense.
Criminal defense, okay. Yeah. And so what year did you graduate from law school?
2002, and then passed the bar in 2003.
2003. So
seems like such a long time ago.
I know.
I think I just 20 years. Wow. I just aged myself.
Yeah, that's amazing. One thing you touched on is kind of homelessness, and it just seems like to be this crisis that just won't go away. I think we just had a hearing here the other day, kind of on it, and kind of I just saw Sharon Quirk Silva, who's focused on this for quite a while, be like, it's even worse than I imagined, kind of, and it just seems to be like no solutions. Kind of, what are some of your thoughts on the homeless issue, and kind of how are we going to solve it?
I just think we all need to get together. We all need to sit down and try to find a solution. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. We need to be able to provide resources because some of the individuals who are homeless are dealing with mental health problems. You try to provide them the resources that they need, and they don't want the resources. So it's just a matter of sitting down, everybody sitting down and having a discussion. It would be nice to see a workforce, like a work group, to have a discussion as to what needs to be done. But it's not an easy fix, but I think we need to attempt to try it because it's only getting worse. We see it here in Sacramento, we see it in downtown LA, and we see it in our cities.
That's what's kind of interesting is every city is taking a different aspect on it. Kind of, what was some of your solutions in Downey to deal with this, and kind of, is it anything that could be kind of brought to a statewide level?
So what we focused on in Downey is we partnered up with Whole Child and different organizations. So Whole Child, they focus on youth and families, and to try to get them off the streets. And then there's other organizations that also tried, again, to provide the resources. And in Downey, we're trying to create a veterans housing, so to try to get veterans off the streets, to provide them the resources. And at the veterans housing that will be in Downey, they will be also providing wraparound services as well. So I think that's important, to get people off the streets, provide them the services, get them into some kind of transitional housing, and then try to hopefully one day have them find housing. Right. But it's a tough one. It's tough. I'm not saying that we fixed the problem in Downey.
No, yeah. And kind of the root of that is housing, right? And having housing availability. And, the state's been trying to do a lot to, make cities make more housing. Kind of, as kind of from the city level, kind of what were you guys doing at Downey for housing? Is there room for more houses to build there? And kind of to meet these mandates that the state has set? I guess having that background and then coming up here, kind of what's your perspective on kind of some of these housing issues?
It becomes a problem when cities aren't at the table. And as you'll notice, I always want conversation, dialogue, and everybody at the table because you need to get different perspectives as to solving any issue. And so the problem is a lot of housing bills are being done without city input. And we're doing everything. We're doing everything we can in Downey. But even the surrounding cities, they're doing everything they can. So, for instance, in Downey, we've moved from being the 11th largest city in LA County, which has 88 cities, and now Downey is the 10th largest city with 114,000 residents. So, a lot of cities are constantly building. They're finding ways to build more housing. But I don't think that's going to necessarily fix the problem because you're just creating more market rate housing, and that's not necessarily making it affordable.
Right.
So that's really the problem of creating more affordable housing.
Mm-hmm. No, that's interesting. So, basically, you're a new member. You just got your committee assignments. Is it? I imagine it's kind of like getting your school schedule. Like, here's your class schedule. Kind of what committees are you on, and kind of what's your committee schedule going to be looking like this spring?
So I believe I have Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and I sit on rules. Well, rules we meet on Thursdays, but I sit on rules. I have environmental safety toxins material, ESTM. And then I have rev and tax, and then I have local government. And then I feel like I'm forgetting one.
So did you ask for these? Did the speaker just think like, you'd be good on some of these? Kind of how did that work out?
I asked for judiciary.
Okay.
So I was able to get that one. And all the other ones I didn't ask, but it's also a learning experience. Sometimes you're given an assignment, you may not necessarily like it, and all of a sudden you'll find out you actually love it. So I think that's the exciting thing. I may not have asked for everything that I wanted, but that's okay. It's all a learning experience, and I may end up loving the committees I'm on, and then continue wanting to serve on those committees.
Yeah.
So I'm just excited to be here. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Yeah. Do you like find yourself kind of walking around, kind of like talking to people and being like, oh my gosh, that's like so-and-so, or like, I can't believe I'm here and on the floor. Like who's your seatmate on the floor?
So my seatmate is Wendy Carrillo, and I'm just excited to be in the Capitol.
Yeah.
So I'm more in awe of being in the space that I'm in. So every day I'm on the assembly floor and I look around and I'm just in awe of where I'm at.
It's funny. I saw there's like this congressman, this newly elected congressman, and he started like Instagram/TikTok of what it's like to be like a freshman congressman. And he was talking about like how funny it was to like, you see all these caricatures on like CNN or C-SPAN. And you think that's like what they're like, but then you meet them in real life. So yeah, it's kind of funny, huh? Kind of surreal to be in the moment. Now you're on the floor, voting and things like that.
Yeah.
As a freshman legislator, sometimes the senior members kind of pull some pranks on you. Have you had any pranks pulled on you or anything yet?
No, not yet. No? I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was supposed to tell you. Be careful on your first bill introduction on the floor. Oh, that's funny. So kind of, just being new up here and kind of not knowing the scope of the thing, kind of what's one of the funnier things that's happened up here since you've been up?
The funnier things as in to me?
Yeah.
As in not being able to open a door?
Yeah, maybe.
So I feel like they should have signs that say either push or pull. Mm-hmm. I was trying to pull to open the door, and I guess it's push.
Yeah.
And so
that
was kind of funny.
One of those learning things to get through. But now you figured it out.
Now I'm a pro.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to go to every door and I'm just going to push it.
That's funny. Kind of, being the daughter of an immigrant family and kind of knowing there's a lot of immigrants in your district. Kind of what are you kind of working on immigrant reform and how we can better protect our California immigrants?
So just making sure that there's policies in line just to protect them and make sure that their rights aren't being violated. That's very important. My father came to the U.S. when he was 17, and he still speaks broken English. And so I've seen everything that he's had to endure. And so just making sure like immigrants like my father, aren't being discriminated against, that there's laws in place to protect them, because he came to the U.S. To make a better life for himself. And that's where my parents met, in the U.S. And so I'm just proud of him and everything he's accomplished. He became a citizen. He worked hard. He had a landscaping business. He had a locksmith business. He taught karate.
Wow, karate. Wow.
So a lot of legislators are finding out that I also became a black belt in
You
karate.
are? Okay. I noticed you dropped that like self-defense thing up there in the front, self-defense for young girls. What form of karate are you trained in?
So we did a Japanese style. It was called Shito-ryu karate. So it was just your traditional Japanese style of karate. And my dad taught it for like over 10 years. And I took karate for maybe around that time. And then I started school, so I stopped taking it. But I tried also Muay Thai, tried Jiu-Jitsu for just a little bit, but that was really tough.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good to know. If anyone needs some help, reach out to Blanca. Have her in your corner, guys. Another, issue that's really big in your district is climate change, right? You have all the freeways going through, all the bad air. Kind of how important is climate change in your district, and kind of what are you looking at to do to kind of help clean the air there?
So what's important is to create the infrastructure, like light rails, try to get people off the roads if they can. Right now in LA County and in Southern California, we deal with a lot of traffic. So coming up here, I realized there really isn't traffic in Sacramento.
Yeah,
but if you drive down there, there's a lot of traffic, and it just with gas vehicles, you see more smog, and trying to get people off the roads is very important. So creating the infrastructure so that people can utilize public transportation is extremely important.
Yeah, what kind of public transportation opportunities are there? I guess in your where are most of the workers going? Is it mainly to downtown LA, or is it to the beach side? Kind of what is the traffic pattern?
It all depends. A lot of workers are going to downtown LA, but they could be traveling to the beach side. And that's why it's important to create an infrastructure that just won't take you to downtown LA. There has to be an infrastructure that takes you to different parts of LA County, or even outside of LA County. Downey is close to Orange County. So even trying to get to Orange County and San Bernardino County is important. And then you're seeing a lot of people, because of affordability, they're moving outside of LA County. They're going to Bakersfield. They're moving to the Riverside County area. So it's just become really expensive, and creating that infrastructure so people can get to work without utilizing their vehicles is extremely important.
No, yeah, the housing prices in LA County have just gotten crazy.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what a house in Downey is worth now compared to 10 years ago. It must be nuts. We were talking earlier before about how you actually know one of the lead characters from Napoleon Dynamite, Pedro. Kind of how did you meet him, and kind of how did that friendship start?
So we met at Sundance, and this was about maybe over 10 years ago. And we met at a party. He asked me to dance. Yeah. And after that, we just became friends. And
was he a good dancer?
He was a pretty good dancer, yeah. And he has a twin brother. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he has a twin brother.
So he could have been like the Olsen twins. Huh? Identical twin?
Yeah.
Wow. That's funny.
Yeah.
And he actually came to one of your swearing-ins?
So he came to my, two of my swearing-ins. He came to my swearing-in when I became mayor in Downey. And then he recently came to my swearing-in the community, my community swearing-in for Assembly.
I was telling you, before this interview, I asked artificial intelligence some questions for you. And I asked, what are some funny questions? And one of them was, if you could have any superpower, legislative superpower, what would it be and why?
Wait, a legislative superpower, not just a regular superpower?
Well, I don't know. You have to use it for legislative purposes also. It could be any superpower. Like you could fly, but
for legislative
how would you use it? Yeah.
So I would fly back to the district.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good one. Yeah.
So, but actually,
sorry, Southwest.
If I had a legislative superpower, Maybe it would be to read people's minds so that way I knew what they were thinking about. If I knew that they were really on board with my bill or if they weren't.
That's what I was thinking
is
like you mentioned Wonder Woman earlier, and I guess the lasso of truth would probably be pretty good to utilize on the floor. So that'd be pretty funny.
Not that I'm saying I want to like hold people hostage with my lasso.
No, that's too funny. That's awesome. Well, that's awesome, Blanca. Thank you so much for taking the time and joining us. Really excited to have you up here and kind of see what you're going to do this year.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I'm super excited. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing with us your name as Snow White. And, as we learned, you have 8 staff members. So not 7. So.
Not 7? So now I have to hear you say my name. Let's see.
Blanca Nieves.
Good
Pacheco.
job. Good job.
There we go.
Yeah.
Can you edit that back in so you can do it right? Awesome. All right. Thanks, Blanca.
Thank you.
All right.